Lerone Bennett Jr., who was like, Lincoln's a racist and I don't want to talk about it anymore. But when you hear Jim Clyburn say Black Power USA, that's a nod to Lerone Bennett Jr., whose fingerprints are nowhere near the narrative. But what did he say about this? This is what he writes about Reconstruction. In his book on Reconstruction, Black Power USA, Lerone Bennett says, throughout this period and on into the Reconstruction period that followed, he's talking about the Civil War, a small band of abolitionists based primarily in New England railed against the flaccidity of the Northern soul. But the abolitionists occupied a position in the 19th century roughly comparable to the civil rights and peace activists of the 20th century. They were, in short, a small and despised minority. Think about that in terms of the narrative of whether it were blacks and radical whites. It almost, if you think about it as a mathematical equation, it almost makes it seem like it's the same number. A small and despised minority, regarded by their contemporaries as eccentric troublemakers. It was not until the abolitionists touched that great bedrock of social change, Yankee self-interest, that the North roused itself for a life and death struggle against slavery. In the decade before the Civil War, rising concern over the free lands of the West, which were coveted by the slave owners, and demands for government protection of the expanding industrial empire, which were opposed by the slave owners, pushed Northerners closer to the abolitionist movement. Out of this extraordinary miscegenation of Puritan idealism and Yankee self-interest came the Free Soil Party, the Republican Party, and Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the agony of the North made flesh. The qualities Lincoln didn't have were the qualities the North didn't have. And it would be interesting to speculate on, finally, the dark, the precise word, urges that drove Americans to invest Lincoln with precisely the qualities that he and they lacked. Now, one other thing, and then we're going to get some visceral responses in a lightning round, and we'll continue this conversation, right? I wore this shirt very deliberately. Deborah spotted it the minute she came in to be provocative. This is Martin Delaney, who's not in this documentary. Probably not in the children's book you're going to read today, Stony the Road. We tried one of two books you got, and not in Stony the Road. I'm sorry, that one is, what's the name of the children's book? Dark Sky Rising, right. Henry Louis Gates and Tanya Bolden, which is a very important book. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but yeah, first thing I did is go in the index. Right? Martin Delaney is not in this book either. Stony the Road. This is the book, companion volume to the documentary that Professor Gates wrote for adults. How you write a whole book on Reconstruction and didn't include Martin Delaney? Who met with Abraham Lincoln, and between Delaney and Douglas, and there have been a couple of very good books about this. Robert Levine wrote one of them on Delaney and Douglas. Delaney was the one who got the commission and became the first commissioned major of African descent in the United States Army. But Delaney was also the one in 1859 who went to what is now Nigeria and told the guy at Abeokuta and signed a treaty and said, we'll just come over here, grow cotton and corner the international cotton market. We can just leave America. Delaney was in South Carolina during this period we see during Reconstruction, making some bad political choices with an attempt to empower his people, and eventually tries to open a cotton business, as you heard Dr. Mevers say, cotton business, so we can corner the cotton market. That failed. So then he got involved in something called the Liberia Corporation, where they said, well, let's just leave again. Anyway, South Carolina, Black Power USA, a lot of arguments going on, a lot of groups being involved. But ultimately, what I want to have us think about for a minute, and then this is where the conversation starts, is the choices people make when they put narratives together. Yeah. Documentaries are narratives. This is a room full of teachers. We know that the people who stand between us and the narratives are our students. And we want to encourage them to think. And we've had a lot of conversation today, a lot of brilliant investiture people. Some people literally embodied the characters of Reconstruction, right? So we have enough information. We came here with enough information, but we got so much more. So now, a question in terms of narrative choices is, what's the visceral response to what we saw, which was a very good representation of all the episodes I've seen. They had pieces of it for all of it. Those of you who watched it, either online, and WHUT will be airing it when, Mr. Lee? The 20th and the 27th. So for the young people in particular who may not have access to, all the different, look, turn on WHUT, Howard University's own, and watch it the 20th and the 21st. So anybody, reactions very quickly, and we'll keep going. It's going to do it very quickly.